Welcome to Mindless Entertainment. I'm Jesse Milestone, and here is my long-awaited Black Panther review. Y'all been asking about it, and I finally saw the dang movie, and I am here to talk about it. First thing, that was an amazing movie. If you don't agree, if you didn't like this movie, you have to at least consider the fact that you're racist. Or maybe not. Maybe you just don't like action films. Maybe, I mean, you can't really say I didn't like it because it's a superhero film, because it's really not a superhero film. If you didn't see it because it's a superhero film, you made a mistake. Go do that. You absolutely should see this movie. If you didn't like it, really talk to yourself, figure out why. Did you not relate to the characters because they don't look like you? Because that's a problem. Anyway, by the way, you might see some of this.
Somebody I know was told not to see it because by a white person was told not to see it by another white person.
Yes!
Because
yes!
They were told that there's no white people in it, so how could they relate? And I also heard people saying I didn't really get it, there was no one I could relate to. Welcome to what black people have been dealing with since movies started. Cameras were not created to even film black skin. That's why there's so much trouble with it now, still.
Yep. So, thanks, Kelly. That's Kelly. She might pop in again. I had a similar story where a white guy was being told by a white woman that he shouldn't see it because it's not for him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that sounds like racism. If you're like, you can't see this movie because it's black people, that sounds like racism.
That's actually where my story came from. She told it to me. The second thing I said, I actually found myself.
There you go. Anyway, so, really, truly, I mean, so you guys have all heard me talk about The Last Jedi and how much I despise it, and all my issues with it, not just because it didn't feel like a Star Wars movie, but because it was objectively a bad movie. It had bad things in it. This movie had great, the framing in it was so perfect, down to the little things like in the very beginning. By the way, this video is full of spoilers, so do not watch it do not watch this video if you don't like spoilers, or if you haven't seen it, or whatever. Just don't watch this video if you don't like spoilers. Or if you've already seen it, you're fine. Okay. Back to the point. The point is, so much visual goodness, all right? Like, you have your little scene in the beginning, that we don't really know, we don't learn how that ties in until much later, but it does, and it does in such a beautiful way, right? Little things like the challenge in the beginning when the Jabari warrior challenges T'Challa for the crown and loses. And they kind of set you up from the beginning, like, I feel like he's going to win this because I feel like this movie is about him being the king. So I don't think I should be worried, but you kind of get worried, and then he pulls it off, and you're like, oh, this is why he's great, we love T'Challa, and he's, like, unbeatable and unstoppable, and then Killmonger comes in and makes that challenge, and, like, this is a great, alright, this is what dramatic irony is, guys, when the audience knows something before the characters do, and we don't actually have the knowledge that creates true dramatic irony, like, no one told us ahead of time that he's gonna lose this challenge, but you just know, because they set it up so perfectly, everyone being like, T'Challa ain't gonna lose, his little sister, whose name is Shuri being like, he is not gonna lose, this poor bitch should just give, the way they do it, like, in the first one, they come in with us like, oh my god, I hope T'Challa doesn't lose, and of course you know he's gonna win, but then they come in so confidently that you know he is gonna lose, and you're like, oh my god, I did not come into this movie thinking someone was gonna take the crown away from him, plot twist, that to me I think was probably the biggest surprise. The thing with this movie, like, nothing was particularly surprising, like, every surprise or twist, you kind of knew it was coming about a couple minutes before the reveal happened. Like, it was still surprising and twisty because you're like, oh shit, this is what they're gonna do, and then they did it. So it was really validating in that way too, because it was like dramatic irony. It was like you were let in on the secret before everyone else was. Even things like when the story would, about, ooh, this is his son, and then, oh, he pops, now you suddenly, once that story happens, you're like, I know who Eric Killmonger is. I got this. So that was sort of a fun thing. But the way they framed those two challenges, I also really just liked the Jabari as a tribe in this. So much of this film, this was such a brilliant thing about this film, was the balance of tribalism and modernism, technology and tradition, and that meshing and blending. And it was this movie really, when I talk about, like, the things I hate about the agenda that's put into the Star Wars movie, like forcing feminism on you, forcing social issues on you, this movie did it all in those nice, subtle ways that just feel good. The way you watch Mad Max and don't realize it's a feminist film, where you have this cultural blending, because these are issues we're all dealing with today, is how to balance tradition with modernism, how to balance clinging to the past with embracing the future, how to keep the good things, you know, and letting go of the bad. Like, these are things we're all dealing with, and they worked with us so well. And so the Jabari were represented good and bad in that they were very, very strong, which was important, but they represented sort of a clinging to the old ways a little bit, but at the same time having the strength in the core family values. Like, when you have a usurper on the throne, it doesn't tear the Jabari apart the way it tore the other tribes apart. Cats, calm down. So little things like that were made this movie so great. And then the soundtrack, how the soundtrack complemented that as well. Like, you have a balance of modernism and tribalism in the music itself. And then when Killmonger takes over, when he's on, it gets a little more hip hop, a little more modern, and you lose some of those traditional tribal elements. It was just a great balance, a great, you know, mirroring. Real quick before I continue on, obviously I'm gushing here. There were things I didn't like about this movie. Let me just throw those out there. You know, they're not as many as the things I did like. I felt that the soundtrack got a little melodramatic at points. Like, some of the more musical accompaniment style was fine, but like there were moments that just got a little melodramatic, and like the da 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 that I thought were unnecessary. The big thing I had an issue with, the thing that felt a little too plot devicey, was like, we have this huge secret, you know, the secret of Njobu's son, who is lost forever, that suddenly gets revealed as big, oh my god, no one's supposed to know about this, no one's supposed to know, and he's like, I'm your king, tell me, and he tells him, and oh my god, now T'Challa knows, what does he do with it? And then this whole story, like, busts wide open, like, why do we even have him? The only reason to have the shaman tell him this story is, sorry, shaman's not the right word, but, you know, that's his role, anyway, your mystic, tell him the story was so that we as the audience had the backstory, because the story broke wide open, you know, moments later when Eric just shows up and he's like, this is who I am, by the way. And I guess we had that night, a little bit extra time for T'Challa to process it and deal with it before it happens, but that felt like a little plot devicey to me. Those were my biggest issues. Honestly, I think that overall, I could nitpick like little things, but overall, I think that it did a masterful job. Killmonger, Eric, oh my god, okay. Anybody I'm not really doubling down on the thing I said earlier. Anybody heterosexual, any heterosexual female, or homosexual male, anybody who is at all ever attracted to men, if you are not in some way viscerally or sexually attracted to Michael B. Jordan in this role, you seriously have to consider the possibility that you're racist. Like,
yeah, it's true.
You actually do.
Good Lord.
Like, and I get it, you know, you can find someone attractive without wanting to jump their bones. I wanted to jump his bones. But if you can look at him and be like, that guy's not at all attractive. So beautiful. There's no sexual appeal there whatsoever.
He's so beautiful.
You're just wrong. Like, you're objectively wrong about that. You're allowed to be.
He is
but this is not a matter of taste. You know, there are some people in this world, like Johnny Depp, who we can all agree, even if we're not sexually attracted to them, that they are attractive. And Michael B. Jordan, God, especially with that hair, is one of them. And that body. You don't have to like the scarring. You don't have to be into that. That's fine. But dear Lord. What a brilliantly sympathetic character. And what a great representation of, it's the classic idea of the sort of the oppressed minority in like an urban environment, in a hostile environment, where you have these people who you feel for them because they've been set up their whole lives to fail. And that's this character. He's set up to fail. And there's a point, like, I don't think anyone's necessarily rooting for him per se, but you do feel for him. Like, if you don't feel for him, you're a monster. Like, I almost cried when he died at the end. Like, that was just, I felt for this guy. I felt for this guy. And there was that
bury me in the sea like my ancestors, because even they knew death was better than imprisonment.
What? I think he said bondage, but either way,
it was bondage.
But what a great line. A little poetic, a little, you know, again, with the melodrama, but just what a great, beautiful, beautiful idea there. So that, I mean, he was such a well-crafted character. I mean, that perfect badassery that you want from a good villain, with those redeeming elements. I mean, that the way it was a classic also, like, villain redemption story, even like a la Darth Vader's death. I need to die because I've done these bad things, I cannot be fixed, but I get to die redeemed. Which was just another beautiful, beautiful thing. The action sequences in this film, I just think they did a great job balancing the supernatural abilities and like this high-tech uber powered stuff with some just good old-fashioned punching.
And I really love the sense of humor.
Oh my god, the humor, some of the jokes, like it really was up both of our alley. Like with the two of us in the theater just laughing hysterically for
Put on
way
some music.
too long.
We're not going to a funeral.
Yes. Just laughing way too long about stuff that no one else in the theater found nearly as funny as we did. And so yeah, I mean, I love just the physicality in like the challenges and the hand-to-hand scenes, the way they use their bodies together. I do Krav Maga, I do fencing. I'm really into that sort of the dance of fighting, and there was so much of that in this movie, so much artistry. Reminded me a lot of some of the like Wonder Woman scenes. Just a lot of artistry. This I thought had more functional violence in it too. There were elements in Wonder Woman that I didn't like because it was a little too pretty and less functional. And this was like the function was evident in everything they did, and it was pretty to watch. So much I like about this movie. God, I haven't even gotten to like some of the best parts of this. So some of the best things about this for me, the treatment of women in this movie. You have the generals are all women. They just are. You have like Okoye. I got this. Okoye, she's the one dating the guy from Get Out. Who just, she wears the pants in that relationship. I mean, hands down, there's like a power struggle for a minute, but like that moment where she's like spear to his throat and he was like, you would kill me. And she was like, for Wakanda in a heartbeat, my principles over my love, which is like the exact opposite of Rose, from Star Wars. Like, oh, my love is the most important thing in the world. The things I want matter. And she's like, no, the things that this world needs mean more, are bigger than you and me. From Last Jedi. Rose Tycho?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it seems to me that the problems of three little people don't amount to a hill of beans in this crazy world, or however I just butchered that amazing quote from Casablanca, one of the greatest movies ever made. It's that idea. I stand for something bigger. I represent something bigger. And the fact that he caves to it, where he's not just like, you're right, but he's also like, I love you, and I'm not strong enough to stand up for my morals the way you did. Because that's what he does initially. He's like, these are my morals and principles, so that's why I'm aligning with Killmonger. And you get to a point where he's like, it's an acknowledgement that he's not mentally, physically, emotionally as strong as she is. Which is great. Also, the part where the rhinoceros licks her face is like, I love that. So I love that strength there. I love the fact that Shuri, the little sister, is basically Q from James Bond in all the best ways. That like glee about the technology, that don't you mess up my stuff, like you think you know better, I got this. And and that's the whole thing though. The whole thing that makes it good and that makes us believe it, right? No one's saying, here, believe these women are powerful. Here's a world where women aren't necessarily powerful. We have to convince you that they are. We're a set of given circumstances. Here are strong women in this world. Accept them. And we do. Unquestionably, we accept them. And they're women that inhabit all different kinds of roles. And that's like, the women are the most principled characters in this. I mean, the men have their principles too, but they're the ones that are a little morally flexible, morally gray. The women are the most principled ones, and those are the people who, and you even get that with like the fact that T'Chaka killed his own brother, like the moral questionability, the moral flexibility here. You have women as the moral backbone of the society, and they are the example for T'Challa. Now, one thing personally for me, right? This movie didn't have to be a Black Panther Marvel movie, right? This could have been a standalone film. If it wasn't part of this universe and we didn't need T'Challa to continuing on, I personally would have had him die in that second challenge. I would have had him die, and I would have had Nakia, his ex-girlfriend, take the heart-shaped herb and become the new Black Panther and just do that. Like, because she had the stuff for it, like, no question. That was not even up for debate. But yeah, so I loved that. I thought that the use, like, the movie, I don't know, I'm not sure what the rationale was for, I feel like Everett's role, that was Martin Freeman, the white guy, wasn't just to be the white guy, but really to be like the, why am I like his name? Agent, what's his face? From S.H.I.E.L.D., the S.H.I.E.L.D. agent.
Coulson.
Agent Coulson. He's like the Agent Coulson, right? He's the bridge to, not the bridge to the outside world, the bridge to the rest of the Avengers universe. And you kind of see that him tie in at the end. Like, his role in this was he had obviously a bigger part in it, but it was a little more kind of like Coulson and Iron Man.
I kind of like the ambiguity, though, because he's a bit set up as...
Could be
a more villainous character, more like in Age of Ultron, and here he's more redemptive and seems to be on the side of good. So there's a lot of ambiguity here that will be interesting to see going into Infinity War.
Whee! So yeah, they set him up nicely. I don't know if anyone else felt this way, but for me, I just had this moment when he's flying the autopilot, when he's piloting the plane towards the end. I'm looking at it, I'm like, God, you know, he would have made a good Han Solo. He would have probably made a much better Han Solo than Alden Ehrenreich will. So that was a thought that passed through my head. Oh yeah, there was a trailer for the Han Solo movie before this, and I was just sad all over again. So that's terrible. But anyway, more great things about Black Panther. I'm not even done yet. Another thing, right? So I've been mentioning allegory and things like that. I think movies that are allegories make much better messages than other movies. Because again, the nice thing about an allegory is you can ignore the overarching message. Like, I can read Chronicles of Narnia and ignore the fact that it's effectively Christian propaganda and enjoy the books as they are pieces of fiction because the message doesn't overshadow the story. So in this one, this was the same thing. There were a lot of there was a lot of messages about the strength of women and things like that. Respect for me is the word that goes through my head when I think about how everybody in this movie is treated with such respect. Everybody's culture, everyone's heritage, everyone's opinion, every perspective, because there are multiple perspectives. There's the, let's stay isolated, yet let's get involved in everyone's business. Let me work undercover to help people. There's so many, the spectrum of perspectives, and they're all treated with respect. Even Killmonger is treated with such respect. His death is handled so respectfully. Now, and even he respects T'Challa in that moment, like that crazy move of, let me time this perfectly to flip the spear up and gut you while your suit is, still fuzzy. Even his first reaction was like, nice move. Like, you just killed me, bro, but that was sick. So even that, and then the way, of course, they handle him, the way T'Challa treats him out and brings him to see the sunset, like, it's so just handled with such care and respect. Unlike Star Wars, every minute of this movie was handled with that kind of respect.
I want to, can I chime in here for an extended, it might be a little extended.
And to Kelly.
Please stay in frame.
I'm right here.
So, I lived with my Jamaican friend, and then I lived with another friend for a while, and one thing that I was taught or that was shared with me that I obviously wouldn't know is that there's in the Black community there actually can be a lot of vitriol and animosity for like light-skinned versus dark-skinned.
Yeah, I learned about that recently.
Yeah, and it just like, I mean, not just like, but similarly to white versus black versus, even though it should never be a versus thing, like, generally speaking, light-skinned black people are viewed as more beautiful, and the media portrays them that way, and they have things easier. It's the whole,
they're viewed more beautiful and by white people.
By white people. And, like, they would have been in the house during slavery, that type of thing. But in this movie, all of the heroes are super dark. This is what Lupita Nyong'o was talking about in her, it wasn't her Oscar speech, but she received an award for empowering women, and she was talking about how she's so dark, and she was talking about how for once this is seen as beauty, and she didn't have to do anything. Like, there's rumors that Beyonce has lightened her skin for the same reason, and they go even so far as to cast, I mean, Michael B. Jordan is amazing, so I don't think it's just, but they cast a light-skinned black person as the bad guy. So they flipped that on its head too. Good job, Ryan Coogler.
Agree. I loved actually Okoye, the fact, like, the baldness of the generals and that acceptance of beauty, because there's like hair is another big thing, like going natural and doing this and what, and that's one version of like just getting rid of it. And so I loved her reaction to the wig of like, get this stupid thing off my head. And for me, like, as a short-haired person, that resonated with me of this idea that you can be, I mean, she was a feminine woman, but she had no hair. And she was powerful as all get out, and she beat the crud out of people. So as someone who is short-haired and gets a lot of crap for that for some reason, I super appreciated that little call out. I also want to just briefly mention my favorite line in the whole movie, which was the head of the Jabari tribe being like, "If you speak again, I will feed you to my children." And then he's like, "Just kidding, we're vegetarians!" That was it was amazing. I loved that line so much, and it was funny, probably only to me. Anyway, no, it was definitely funny to at least Kelly. And maybe some other people. But, so, other things, yeah, so, like I said, the messages we get here are allegory. And one of the big ones that undeniably, is, and this, again, resonates with me, is a message of political centrism. Right? We have a lot of, no, let's do things the left way. No, let's do things the right way. Let's be super liberal. Let's be super conservative. And there has to be a middle ground that makes everyone satisfied in a sense. And that was this. In this situation, when you actually look at the allegory of this, you're not looking at the people, the populace, as just Wakanda. The populace is the entire worldwide Black community, which was an issue that was brought up a lot. And I love that message too, because for me, so much of what's happened with technology connecting everybody is divisiveness, is everyone finds their little tribe and goes off, in their little tribe and off separately and stuff like that. And this idea, like a big message, and that was something Killmonger brought to the table, that was something Nakia brought to the table, that was something that the guy from Get Out, Daniel Kaluuya's character, brought to the table, is the idea that it's not that, and I thought that was Killmonger's best and most powerful message, was Wakandans are not just responsible for Wakandans. That's not you, right? There's the whole people. You can't just section off and only worry about your little piece of the world and your little interest group. You have to have everyone's interest in mind. So you have the existing Wakanda structure is very much like uber political conservatism, isolationism, or this idea if the Wakandans represent the wealthy elite, right? And they wanted to keep what they had. They didn't want to risk exposure because they didn't want anyone to take that away from them. They didn't want to lose. They didn't want to share. They weren't bad people because of it. They just had a narrow worldview that only included protecting their interests. They didn't look outside to consider the bigger picture and the good they could be doing and the responsibility they had to their fellow mankind. And you have Killmonger come in, and Killmonger, I mean, he could represent either the radicalized right or the left. For me, it was a little bit more the left, because it was this idea of well, we're going to take everything from you and give it away because you don't deserve this. You people have hurt me, so you have to pay now. I'm taking all of this away from you, giving it to other people, and now because these people haven't had things, they need to hurt the people who've hurt them.
Yeah, like that was the part, like that put it more like left, and then kill everybody seems...
Which you have. I mean, you have things like the prevalence of the phrase "die cis scum." You have women who think... You have women who think that in order for us to have rights, men need to lose rights. Like, that's crazy. And so you had that perspective kind of represented there, and then you had T'Challa, who was that middle ground of saying, we need to reach out, we need to use our resources, we have a responsibility to use what we have to help the people who have not. But the flip of that was, no, we don't need to wage war. We don't need to fight anybody. We don't need to fight anyone's battles for them. We need to give them the resources to take care of themselves. So it was like a nice, beautifully centrist message of like care for fellow, but like also, I mean, and that's the thing. That's where centrism is, and that's so mind blowing that so few people are outspokenly on board. Centrism is, I love everybody. I accept everybody. Let's make sure everybody gets what they want. Yes, it involves compromise, so you don't get absolutely everything. You get the things that are most important, that you need the most. The things you need the most, not the things you want, the things you need. You get your needs taken care of, and everybody does. And we're concerned with everybody's opinion and everybody's perspective. That's why it funnels into the center. And that was such a great thing, a message in this movie. And I don't know what this is, but it's fun. So those are like, that's a lot of thoughts. I think that's enough for now. I'm sure I'm forgetting a million other great things. I'm sure you'll all remind me in the comments. Let me know what you thought as well. Obviously, you are allowed to disagree with me. You'll know I'll probably yell about how you're wrong if you do, but I still love you anyway. I am on Patreon. That's this awesome site where you can throw money at me to help support my yelling habit. I really do want to do more and more exciting videos. I'm bringing you one soon that Patreon money can help fund and things like that. So it's also a really fun community. I post a lot of stuff on there that you can't get anywhere else, and you get these fun little rewards every month that are like weird and you'll only like if you like me. So if you do, it's in the link is in the description below. Go ahead and check that out, and stay tuned for more other things that are happening soon. Whee!